Hello and welcome to the Joaquim4gov broadcast, Thursday, 14th of February, 2013, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy go spend some money on some overpriced stuff day. Anyway, today I will be talking about the Melbourne F1 and its cost to Victorian taxpayers. There's been some more comments by Queensland MP on Fluoride and how he would prefer to take performance-enhancing drugs for the rest of his life or something like that instead of fluoride. I read a little bit about the plain packaging for smokes, so I'll be talking a bit about that. Talk about the milk. I think the farmers are complaining that they're getting down to like 28 cents a litre for milk. And I'll also talk a bit more about my my position on match fixing on sports, and more comments about that, I guess, and what I've seen in the news. So that's the plan, anyway. So I'm making a bit of changes as I've been going through doing this. Obviously I don't need to do it twice a day anymore. Battling and juggling on my own personal opinions. We'll see how that develops. And I've been getting a little bit more spread on the social circles, so thanks for people that have done that for me. Okay, let's get into it then, shall we? So, the article that came to my attention was David Coulthard having a go at people that didn't want the F1 in Melbourne anymore, and his comments were not surprising for someone in that field, but pretty interesting if you look at it. Apparently, it costs the Victorian taxpayers $30 million in licence fees for good old Bernie Eccleston, which is basically the CEO director, someone of Formula One, the company. So the taxpayers pay $30 million just for the right to have it there. And a lot of people have been opposed to it for a long time because of the cost to the taxpayer, and understandably. And David Coulthard was basically saying, I'm not mucking with what you like, don't muck with my sport or something like that. But obviously that's not the point of view that is really very relevant and important, because it's inside the sport. Of course, he's going to say something like that. From a policy perspective, what is that event, and what should be done about it, I think is the more interesting thing, and what I'm going to talk about. Just quickly, I do actually watch the F1. That's one of the few sports that I watch regularly, and I like it. I like watching it. I haven't been to an event since I was a child in Brazil. Don't plan to, because it's ludicrously overpriced, and what's the point? You won't see the coverage properly compared to having it on TV anyway, and lots of other hassles. So I actually like F1, and I like, as a fan of the sport, I guess I like it being here, so that, you have a local flavour and they crap on about your little tribe for a while. Makes you feel good, I guess. As a statesman, though, not so much. What is the actual cost of the event? If 30 mil the state pays just for the license of it, what do you look at that as? Is it an investment? Is there a net profit out of the event? And is there a net profit to the state out of the event? I think let's just assume that I'm in Victorian government or something, and that's what I'm looking at. Those are the first things that I would look at. Again, with a libertarian idea, you would automatically go, no, gone, bye. But my philosophy is to incrementally apply libertarian ideas to our existing form of government. That's the only way it can work without you burning the place down. Or people doing it for you. Okay, so does the state make a net profit out of it? If so, it can be considered an investment, kind of. Now, if the state does make a net profit out of it, you are still forcing people to pay for it, though. So, what you could do, as one option, would be to incorporate the event instead of having the state pay for it. There'd have to already be some sort of corporation that's got the the facility and the track and all the merchandise and all that. There would already definitely have to be a corporation. So is it an exclusivity issue? Let the state give up that license fee, or the opportunity to own that license or to pay for it or whatever, to the actual corporation that runs the event and the track and things like that. That's the other thing that has to be looked into. Is the track or the facility receiving taxpayer money? And how long has it been receiving taxpayer money? How much of the total value of the track is because of taxpayers? Because that would effectively determine how much the people own that particular facility. And then you might look at maybe who owns it. Does the state own it, or is there a corporation? So that's the first thing that you need to do. What you would actually do with it, though, if it's making a net loss, if it's making a net loss for the state, don't fund it anymore. Unless it would cost more to stop funding it, if you're funding the facility on its own. If that would cost more, like if you would lose more money if you stopped funding it because of the facility that you're also funding, then you're actually losing in funding it, then maybe not. So it all depends on all the funding, which is pretty crap. It's too much funding, probably, hypothetically, anyway. But if it's, let's just look at the best case scenario, I guess. So the state pays a fee for the event. It's a net profit for the event and for the facility, assuming it also gets funding. So it's a good business proposition overall. So the only problem is that the people are being forced into an investment. As successful as it may or may not be, they are being forced into an investment that they have no control over, and they have no access or control over the profits. So, how do you fix that? Well, what you can do, other than just stop funding it altogether, I guess you could say, is incorporate and give people a tax rebate back on the funding that they would have and allow them to buy shares in the corporation. If the people truly don't want it there, then it won't thrive, and the F1 will stop going there. And that's just how it is, really, It's not something that I would like to see happen as an F1 fan, but you've got to give people a choice to do what they want to do. And whether they like F1 or not, if it's a good business venture, then they will keep their shares. Maybe that's what you do, give them a tax rebate, let them buy shares. Let's cut out some of the mechanisms there. You just give everyone a share in the corporation, and they can choose whether they want to keep that share and cash it out. So if you do nothing, F1 continues to happen. If you take the initiative, if you don't like it, if you want to spend your money the way you want to spend it, or if you're dead into F1 or the investment, you can put more money into it to balance all that out. And there you go. Get the state out of it completely, preferably, anyway. So those are the kind of things that I would be looking at doing in that particular situation. But the small print of that is that you have to look at the bigger picture. This is what I read in a news article. They said it was a licensing fee. Is it actually a licensing fee does the state pay for other things that are related to the F1 or the facility that conducts the F1? What percentage of the facility's business is the F1, local business tourism, all that kind of crap? Because the state would surely give money for that as well. The actual city and the local businesses and council, who knows, all kinds of crap. So you got to take all that into account. But ultimately, if it's a good business, then it doesn't need the state's help. And the people will make the decision for that. Okay, moving on to... Yeah, there was some bodybuilding or ex-bodybuilding Queensland MP that was going on. He was talking a bit about, I think it came from the match fixing and drugs in sport and all that drama. And he was took the opportunity to get into the headlines, good on him, to say that he'd prefer to have that than fluoride. Well, you're getting rid of fluoride, so good for you. And I found it interesting that he was labelled as a scaremonger. That's such a negative term, like, isn't that, you know, have you looked into what fluoride does yet? Is it, do you know that it's a bioaccumulative substance? The mix, the ratio of it in your water is one problem, but it stays in you and it accumulates. And over a lifetime, that can be a bigger problem. So, it's funny that this guy is really against a substance that basically makes people docile and dumb. And he's being labelled a scaremonger. Isn't that what you would have to do to shake people out of their trance of being dumbed down and docile because of the very substance you're trying to help them get out of their water? I thought that was quite funny. But he is absolutely right, so good for you, Queensland MP of a place that I can't remember that was an ex-bodybuilder. If you have been hearing me talk about fluoride in this and previous broadcasts and thought, meh, what of it? That's what it's making you do. Be conscious of that. Be aware that your nonchalant attitude towards it might not be your own. So at least throw yourself into looking into what it's meant to do for you and what it actually is. And again, that myth or that automatic connection that, oh, okay, you know, it's calcium fluoride, calcium's good for your bones, henceforth, and teeth. Fluoride in the water must be good for your teeth. That's not what they put in there. I'm pretty sure I goosed it last time I said the two. I mix them together, I always do. You go to the Sydney Water website, hidden deep in their depths, there is actually a PDF that tells you the particular compound that they use and the mix that they use. And once you do that, if you really want to learn about it, find the material safety data sheet for that compound and look at what you have to do from a safety standpoint to handle it, to work with it, any of that, and then decide if you want that in your body. So let's have a butchering, eh? Hydrofluorosilicic acid, or yeah, let's just leave it at that. There's another one that is not great. Anyway, hidden behind trees, really? That's how you spend your time and my dollars, really, guy? Hidden Fire Patrol. So Queensland MP, good for you. We'll leave the fluoride there for now. You can get filters, by the way. You'd want to go reverse osmosis to get it out properly. Or you can buy Puro. Here's a plug for Puro. Taste that water. That is just magic. And that's what pure water tastes like. None of your, your normal mineral water and your bottled water, all the branded water that you can buy, that's got fluoride in it. The only one that I know of that doesn't, and it comes in BPA-free packaging, is Puro. Pure AU. I don't know what they're going for there. You can get it up to 10 litre boxes. That's what we used to do before we started buying our filters. So try that for a month. Drink, cook, everything with that water. See if your mind is a little crisper. See if you don't feel a little better. Maybe it'll be worth doing the math and getting a filter hooked up. Okay. I saw an article about plain packaging of cigarettes, and I think I even heard some conversation on the wireless, and it was basically calling in, and I think they had a guy there that was here in the shop or something, and he was saying that it hasn't really done anything to reduce smokes, and the callers, for the majority that I could tell while I was listening, basically had the attitude of, it's not because it has to go down, it's to stop my children taking it up in the first place. And the debate was generally around whether or not that is happening, and statistics and everything like that. My point of view, why is it my business's responsibility to prevent your child from taking something up? From a legal point of view, I won't sell to them if they're underage, as I am legally required to do. But other than that, it's your freaking job. You're the parent. You do it. Making anything less and less accessible and more taboo is just going to make it more popular. No one ever in the history of the world, I'm joking, I used to smoke, and it had nothing to do with what was on the package or not, whether it be from the days of logos, or they started putting the warnings, or they started doing the gruesome pics on there. It really doesn't change it. Your attitude to any of that. Or now plain packaging, so you don't even know what the hell you're getting. Apparently they don't have the milligrams and ingredients and stuff like that on there anymore, which I thought was interesting. Wouldn't you want that on there? Why isn't that on there anymore? So it's even more confusing. Your poor kitty that is floating the world, making decisions for themselves based on pictures on boxes. They don't even know the strength of their illegal ciggies anymore. What's the world coming to? They're also talking about how there's like a special cigarettes counter. I don't know what purpose that's serving. Is that where all the Panopticon cameras are pointing at to make sure that the kiddies don't have a kiddie on the inside selling them cigarettes or something? And the closed drawers as well. It's just all ridiculous. If it's so bad, make it legal. Stop getting taxes off it. Bam. Problem solved. Otherwise, let people do what they want to do, as long as it doesn't bloody harm other people. So, yeah, I'm totally against forcing companies to regulate what they put on their packaging. Totally. I mean, you can have some regulation as to ingredients and things like that if you like, but if they've got a trademark, if they've got a name, if they've got a brand, if they've got colouring, have at it. Like I said, I used to smoke. Just started socially when I drank and went to the pub and hung out with friends, and then I decided that I was too stressed out and took it up regularly, and then I got sick of doing it and I stopped. And that was it. And I don't now, and I don't like it. All that crap, people hassling me, everything. It was only when I decided to stop smoking that I did. And I wonder how many of you are in the same situation, whether you did quit for similar reasons, or similar motivations anyway, or you're trying to, and all this crap has absolutely no bearing on whether or not you smoke. Or you have recently started smoking despite not knowing what the hell you're buying. So there you go. Let them have at it. I think that smoking is it's a tricky one for freedom, I think, because it is bad for you, and you want to let people have their freedom to smoke without affecting other people who don't want to be smoked at. Everyone should have their freedom. And a lot of the time when I go into an office building or shopping centres or things like that, everyone knows it's illegal to smoke in the shopping centre. So they all congregate right outside the door and smoke there, where they assume it is legal, which it isn't. Same thing for car parks and things like that. And I find it interesting that of all the things that people are cracking down on smokers for, that isn't one of them. Have your packages, have your lower taxes on your cigarettes so that they're cheaper for you. Smoke in your house, smoke in your car, wherever it isn't affecting other people. Obviously you can have other people in your house or car, but it's your property, you decide whether or not you want to have them in there. Children is another story. I'll leave that alone for now. It's a bit of a cop-out, isn't it? But yeah, that's a whole other long argument. I won't get into that. The state shouldn't be the parent, basically. If you feel the desire to destroy your children by beating them or smoking at them or whatever other terrible thing you want to do, as terrible as that is, that should be your choice, unless it's painfully obviously lethal, or it would be as lethal to an adult who wouldn't have the choice, or couldn't have the choice to opt out of whatever you're putting them through. Then the government can just bugger off. Freedom hurts, yes, it does, but that's the story. Yeah, but you can do all those things, but don't make me walk through your freaking smoke when I'm going into a shopping centre or an office building or something like that. There are, 20 or so entrances to a shopping centre? A huge one, at most. Every single one of them will be packed with smokers nearly all the time. There would be hundreds of shops in the shopping centre, dozens of aisles in the various supermarkets in the shopping centre, and all the arterials that you can't smoke in. Assuming you could, what would be the chances of me running into you and not having a choice to get away from you to go where I'm going so that I'm not affected by your smoke? And it's illegal to do that. It's illegal for you to go in there, even though I would have all those options to get away from you smoking. But outside, when I'm entering or leaving, I have to go through it. And when I talk to people about this, they're not happy. And it's funny because you can't really have a conversation like this with people like that because they're automatically in your face. And so they should be, and it's their right to, but we can never really have a calm, theoretical conversation about the fact that you are taking away my rights to not have a cigarette around me and my children. So if you're a smoker and you're getting hot under the collar, go out and have a ciggy. Go out, because wherever you are, it's probably illegal to have a ciggy. Take a chill pill, but while you're doing it, look around you. And is there a choice? Have you given a free path to people that don't want you to smoke around them to get in and out of where you just came from? If you haven't, just go back to where you were and light up where you were, because you're effectively doing the same thing. That's of course a little more ballsy, because then you open yourself up to people getting in your face instead of you getting in their face when they talk to you and things like that. You're definitely the minority there, but that's what you're doing. And the actual Clean Air Australia Act or whatever it is, you can't smoke like in car parks at all, in shopping centres at all, and obviously that's not enforced, and I'm not saying that it should be either. But at the same time, just have a bit of respect. That's why you're walking out to begin with, isn't it? Or is it just the fear of the fine? Who knows? But either way, that's all that I think non-smokers ask for, is just a bit of a choice. Maybe even ex-smokers, they walk through that stuff and then just get jittery. That's not cool. Congregate all you want, smoke all you want. Just leave me alone while you're doing it. Another article, milk. farmers are not happy because of milk wars, getting milk down to 28 cents a litre. Not very profitable business there, is it, guys? Well, what if you could get $3.50 a litre for your milk? Wouldn't that be awesome? Because that's pretty much what I pay in my household, because I do not like my milk being screwed with, and I have to buy bath milk, which is raw, not boiled, not filled with crap, not mucked with, and it's cleaner, by the way, and it's good for you, and it's live, and it's actually worth something. But because it's illegal to sell raw milk for human consumption, it is a niche market, and it's called bath milk, and it's quite pricey, and we do go through a fair bit of it too. So, wouldn't that be an easy way to solve the problem? Change the regulation so that you can sell raw milk, and there is demand for it. My earth, there'd be more demand for it if you wouldn't have to go to the efforts you do have to go to get it right now. And even if you could make 10 times more what you're making now, you know, like, what is it, $2.80 a litre? Wouldn't you be rolling? Wouldn't you be laughing? Of course, you would have to clean up your act a bit, because you're no longer selling boiled, adulterated white slurm. You would have to make sure that the milk is actually clean, and you wouldn't be able to get as much out of your cows, and you wouldn't be able to include the unmentionables that you do now that I won't mention because they're unmentionables in regular milk, because it doesn't matter, because it gets treated to just become the white slurm that it ends up being. So there would be a change there for your business as well, but I think that would be good. That would allow the free market to decide what it wants. You can go into that, you can diversify, see if you can make more money out of it. I think that'd be a good idea. That's what I would try to make happen. And then you can even out the cost of milk wars. The people who want the cheap slurm can have it. People that actually care about the milk they drink can buy your more expensive raw milk, and as a business you would be better off, and so would the consumer, hopefully. And the wars wouldn't matter as much until it got to a point where the raw milk was by far the most popular choice, and then it would be subject to those wars. So that would be another problem, but that's big business. If you don't like it, guys, get together, start selling your own milk, create your own businesses, get people to support you. It's free market, that's how it works. Or just get out of it. If it's not profitable, get out of it. Then there will be less supply, it'll increase cost, and that'll fix the problem as well, one way or another. But I think that's an easy, short-term solution. Not only does it provide more freedom to the consumer and the actual producer, but it'll help money flow around a bit too, which is always good. Okay. That's pretty much all the news that I want to cover right now. I am going to do another one on the Act of Recognition, or whatever it's called, that was just passed by Parliament. It'll take you about 30 seconds to read it, so do it. It'll take you longer to find it than it'll take you to read it. Having said that, go to the Parliament website. On the front page, it'll have the latest documents or bills that have been passed, and it'll be right up the top there. Act of Aboriginal Recognition, or maybe just Recognition 2012, something like that. It's a little longer than that, but you'll figure it out. So yeah, I won't get into that, I was just about to. That deserves its own broadcast, because I'll be talking a lot about that one as well, just that particular topic. I do want to go and clarify a little bit more about what I've been talking about, my theories of sport, and the recent use of match fixing, internationally and locally, and performance-enhancing drugs or doping or whatever. First off, I want to separate the two concepts. What I talked about nearly any sport being able to be pushed in a certain direction, that I've said before I have no proof of, and it's just a theory to make it more interesting, if nothing else, but just to see where games are pushed, where they might have been pushed towards. If you haven't seen the previous broadcasts, basically the theory that I tinker with when watching sports is not that there is actual match fixing going on with a particular weak link in a team or a ref or a manager or an umpire or anything like that for a particular game that would be monetary profit to an illegal organization or gang or whatever it is. That's not what I'm talking about. That's what's come in the news, and that is what gave me the segue to talk about this theory. The theory that I'm talking about is that, how can you put it, woven into the existence of the actual sport at its top level, not the sport itself, the league or the association or whatever like that. Matches can be nudged towards a particular result based on, how can I put it, certain decisions by umpires or referees that are unchallenged or are unchallengeable. And that is not, if it is going on, I don't know. It's just, it's fun to play with theories about how the world works. Just don't just accept what you see as reality. It's so far from that. And challenge things, challenge everything. Makes for good, interesting thinking. So that isn't for monetary gain or for one particular criminal organization that is just using its criminal muscles to get more criminal dollars by criminal means. It's nothing like that. It is the theory that sport at a professional entertainment level exists to distract people, to divert their energies away from things that are more threatening to our society at the top. And we, the proles, are just mesmerized by sport. And in us being mesmerized, it's a lot more bang for your buck if you can create controversy, if you can get people riled up about bad decisions, about team from here beating team from there, or on paper they should have won but they didn't. All the normal sporty stuff that you go through if you follow sport that doesn't make sense. Absolutely 100% on paper this team should have beaten the other team on the day they don't. A lot of that can obviously come down to the art of sport itself. The crowds and the atmosphere and the night and the weather even, God knows, everything. But what if? It's just a what if, all of that exists already. There's already so much of a chaos in sport that all you need is a couple of dodgy decisions, and if you follow sport, they go on all the time, and it's just what happened. Ref had a bad day, whatever it might be. And those decisions can take the sails out of a team, the wind out of the team's sail completely. Can completely change the momentum of the match. And, the receiving team of that benefit gets really pumped up. And as I said, there's already so much chaos going on in sport. Not everything needs to be controlled. You just have this little momentum. And that's it. And if the directive was simply that, create drama, that's your directive. Make these people into sport, into it even harder, so that they can get all wound up and talk to each other and have debates and online columns and whole careers out of scrutinizing your bad decisions. That's all it is. So there's no centralized anything, no centralized control. It's just that. It doesn't matter who wins. It's not favouring one particular team. And like I said, it's not the criminal endeavour where this team must win. It's just create drama. Just piss people off, basically. And see what happens. Get more mileage out of this distraction, basically. That's what the theory is. And again, it's just a theory that I tinker with. The mechanics of our society are always fun to pull apart and see how they work and reverse this cog for more efficiency or whatever. Let's replace this gear with that gear. Who knows? It's fun to do that. So think about that. As I've said previously, when you're watching sport, think about that. Take that into account. Try to watch sport outside of yourself. Sport is so much more interesting when you take into account the audience and the media and the commentary and everything, and you start to put a overlying structured theory over the whole thing, not just the match being played between the two teams, two individuals, or multiple teams or individuals, whatever sport it may be. Like I said earlier, I don't really watch too much sport anymore these days. I try to catch a cricket every once in a while when I have time, which is rarely because it's cricket that goes forever. And I watch the F1. The reason why I watch the F1 is because the commitment required to watch F1 is a couple of hours a fortnight or a month, which is it's a fair deal. You know, you don't need to dedicate God knows how many hours of your life following everything just so that you know what's going on. Like soccer or football. I like watching that. I would like to follow it to be able to know what's going on. But there's too many leagues and associations and cups and championships, and they're all intertwined and interconnected, and that has to be your life if you want to follow it properly. And I don't want it to be that, so I don't. Talking about the F1 a little bit more, since 37 minutes isn't long enough for some reason. That's over-regulated, I think. We're going into personal territory now. If you're actually into F1, don't you think it's a little over-regulated? It's meant to be the pinnacle of motorsport, of what we can mechanically achieve as engineering, as a land-based craft, whatever it is. They're constantly changing the rules when the cars get too fast. And it just seems so engineered. I would like it to just be like, okay, whatever you decide to make has to be at least this heavy, has to always use 4 wheels or whatever it is the amount is, and maybe we'll just set the engine as well, the configuration, internal combustion, amount of cylinders, capacity, and fuel. The rest, have at it. Make whatever crazy contraption you can to go as fast as you can. If your team has unlimited money at its disposal, use it. If another team doesn't, tough. Or, you create an F1 above F1 to do that, if you still want to have that competition. That'd be interesting. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for all the support. If I'm hassling you personally, sorry. That's how it's going to start off. That's the idea. I will hassle my existing friends to give me a little bit of momentum combined with local advertisement, I guess. Do some printouts, notice boards, that kind of crap. And give that momentum. If you have a beef with doing that, then just let me know and I will leave you alone. I started doing that a bit the other night and locked out my Facebook account, which was funny. And I got a good reply, so thanks for that, guys. And I'll be hassling more of you in the near future when I get a chance. Next broadcast. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders First Peoples recognition in the Constitution. And thoughts on that. Thank you, and Joaquim4gov, Facebook, Twitter, and this YouTube. Bye bye.